how y'all doing? My name is Pierre Sanders, and I wanted to do a video just on my thoughts about the Trayvon Martin case, and not just to blame someone and say this person's wrong or that person's wrong. I have all my opinions on that, but this is not a video. This is a video um, to see how we can move on from that. Like, what are the steps of forgiveness? How can we be able to stop this from ever happening again? And this is just kind of my thoughts. If you don't agree with it, then turn the video off. And so I just kind of want to begin with a story. I've over in my life have been the victim of racial profiling. I've been the victim of people of racism. And just in both indirectly and directly. And I can think of a story when me and my brother were going down I-20, heading from Augusta to Columbia, and my brother had rented a nice car. Okay, he rented the car because his car was, I guess, messed up or whatever. And we were riding down I-20, and the cops pulled us over. They're not just regular highway patrol or traffic cops. These are narcotic cops. Drug cops. So we were riding down. The guy pulls us over, and he asks for my brother's license and registration. So my brother had his license plus the registration for his car, and also the registration for the rental car, the rental agreement. And the guy looks at the stuff and he tells me, my brother, and also my brother's friend to all get out the car and also pull out our identification. And we show the guy our identification. And then he proceeds to pat us down. And then he says, yeah, we've been having reports and tracking people having rental cars riding up and down I-20 transporting drugs, which is true. I-20 is kind of the main line going up and down for trafficking drugs because it goes up from Atlanta, I think a little further than Atlanta, all the way through Columbia. And so he says, yeah, we've been getting a lot of reports about that and people riding in rental cars, and we just wanted to do a check. Now, my question is, well, why did you pick this car? There are many cars riding down. I'm sure we're not the only rental car that you see riding down I-20 at night. What's the difference? Is it because there were 3 African Americans riding inside a nice rental car, and you assume that that the people that were driving, they're transporting drugs are black? I don't know the thoughts of the policemen, but it really my racist radar went off. It kept the spidey senses were tingling. I was not feeling very comfortable at that point in time, especially getting pulled over in South Carolina, somewhere in between Augusta and Columbia, because really there's nothing really there. It's just darkness, and there's some towns you don't want to stop in. And that's not been the only time that I've actually been part of that. I've been called the N-word growing up. I've been called. I've experienced when I was a counselor having parents drop their campers off, and because my name is Pierre, I guess assuming that I was a white guy and just seeing the kind of look on their face. And actually, one parent actually talked to my junior counselor, assuming that he was the counselor. Clearly, the kid was like 13. My junior counselor like 14, 15 years old. And how could you possibly be a counselor? Anyway, and just those are things I've experienced directly, but there are many things that I've experienced indirectly. And like I said earlier, that if people don't realize racism still forms. I was talking to one of my friends, and he was like, I didn't realize a lot of that stuff was going on. And I was like, yeah, those things are still prominent in America, just because they're not as open, or as at one point they were actually socially acceptable to be, to not like African Americans. Now it's kind of under the covers. It's behind the door. Racism is still there. It's still set. There's still structures. If you look at the legal system, is all the same. But the question I want to start thinking of, and a lot of my work with young people is going with this: is how do we as a nation start moving on? And my big thing that I believe that young people are going to be the leaders for that. Young people are being exposed to this case. These high schools, these elementary kids, these kids are being impacted by what they saw in Trayvon Martin, and it's how we teach what came out of that case. And so the question is, how do we start moving on from that? Is it that we just say, hey, everybody's the same, everybody's equal, how about, and we just move on? No, that's not the answer, because not everybody is the same, and not everybody acts the same, thinks the same, looks the same. Hey, how about we just forget about race totally? But there are many things about being African American that I really love and enjoy. My history, for example, I don't want to ever forget that. And so the thing is, I think it's like how we teach what we teach. And something that I've been looking at a lot is called it's called the cycles of socialization. And it kind of shows to start from the beginning. It says that we are born into a world, and when we're born into this world, it's a blank slate. We don't know what hate is. We don't know we don't come out saying I hate all gay people, or I hate black people, or I hate white people, or I hate immigrants, those things don't come in. We don't come in with these biases. We don't come in with these stereotypes. It's totally a blank slate. We actually learn these stereotypes. We learn who is the people that are on top, the dominant group, and we learn the people that are the less or the weaker or the subordinate group, and we learn where we are in those groups. Either we're in the dominant group or we're in the lesser or weaker or subordinate group. And we all fall into these different categories. We all have these different social identities. And when we're born, as soon as we're born, our parents begin to teach us how to operate, how to think, how to. A lot of our stereotypes come from what we have learned from our parents. That don't trust white people actually came from something that I learned from my dad, because my dad was actually experienced a lot of direct racism growing up, and so those things were then passed along to me. And I could choose to pass those things on to other people, but I'm going to show you where I came to a point. And so we're taught that by our teachers, people that we trust, and we learn who we should keep on the outside and who we should keep on the inside. We learn the stereotypes. We learn all these things. We learn the norms. We learn the acceptable way of acting, the acceptable way of being in our particular groups, whether you're African American, whether you're white, whether you're rich or poor. We learn how to operate in those identities, in those systems. And then as we get older, those things that we have learned are further reinforced as we get older, and within our schools, within the things within our movies that we watch, that we learn that women are lower or subordinate through the rap videos that we see that come on the television, or just the words that we hear, or just the entertainment, and things that we take in and internalize those things, and those stereotypes all come in and they reinforce what we were taught growing up. And as that goes on, there's a cycle that starts at the beginning as we're born, not really knowing anything, then moving on to our parents, and then and our parents teaching teaching us how to be and operate inside our social identities, and then moving on to our schools and the movies and the things that we take in, and those things being reinforced. And as we move on, we get to a point of we start to we have a choice, and this choice is we can continue with how things are going. Okay, follow the path, follow the norm, don't make waves, or we can branch off and I guess wake up and say, what I'm seeing right now isn't the way things should be, because we didn't have a choice of how we were going to be born. We didn't choose what group we were going to be born into. We didn't choose our parents. We couldn't tell our parents what was right or wrong because our parents, to our knowledge, knew everything. Um, and but we get to a point where there's a choice, and everybody gets to this point. It's either you're going to follow what you've been learning, not make waves. It's actually easier to do that, or you branch off and you say, no, this is not the way things should be. This is not right. This is not helping build everyone up. This is actually creating separation. But when you branch off, you are known as you are the troublemaker. You are the problem. You are the person that follows directions well. You are the rebel. I've been called the rebel. I've been called a heretic one point in time in my life. That was when I kind of went against the norms of a religious organization, and I've felt the separation in that. And so when I think about young people, when I think about the Trayvon Martin case, and I think about where we can move on from that, I start to think about that those things won't change. Racism, hatred, how we treat one another, that's going to still keep going and going and going. It's going to be this circle that's going to continue to grow. We're going to have kids. We're going to teach the same thing that we were taught to, that our parents taught us. That's going to move on. That's going to be reinforced by the same institutions that we grew up in, within music and within movies, within our school system, within our churches. Those things will continue to go on, and our kids will grow up living inside this world. And then they will also have the choice of whether to go on, break away from, say that this is wrong, this is not the way that the world should be, or they continue the cycle. And that's what we've been doing. We've been continuing this cycle over and over again. But the purpose of my work with young people is to stop this cycle. I'm really tired of this. Trayvon didn't have to die. George Zimmerman, and you can take this however you want to, is a product of this cycle. He was taught this. Somewhere in his childhood, he was taught that a black kid wearing a hoodie is suspicious. He probably didn't realize that consciously, or that it's something that he would never admit, but somewhere in the back of his head, he knew that. He didn't have to. Those events didn't have to die. I mean, or he didn't have to die. So the purpose of what I'm trying to do, the purpose of what I hope everyone else is trying to do, and where we can move to a place in America where you're not judged by the color of your skin, that you're not put into a group based on what you believe in. That's the world I want to see. But that starts with saying, like, just because what I've been taught, there's something not right, and we all feel this. There's something not right. Our spider senses go off. There's something not right. But we need to start. We gotta wake up, or we're gonna see this again, and we are. It happens every day. This has just got more media press. We're gonna see this again. It's gonna happen again and again and again. Maybe change is up in this situation is up to the justice system, but it begins with us. It begins in how we talk to one another, how we teach our young people to act towards one another, what we say about one another. It starts with us first. In order for there to be change, there must be change within yourself first. And that's what I'm trying to work towards. That's what I'm trying to go to. So until then, that will be my fork. That one day we'll wake up. And we'll break this cycle. And we're going to see a better day. A day where the thing with Trayvon Martin won't happen. Until then, keep your fork. I'm out.